With gently falling rain, the Orville brings what I consider their best episode of this season. They've all been good in their own way, but some of them I thought was a bit slow here and there, and but the first one is forgivable in the nature of the story that it's dealing with, and then it wasn't so much a criticism on for myself. It's just, I want the audience to grow for Orville, and I want a fourth season, and so on and so forth. And that's when I kind of, oh man, I don't know, maybe this might not draw them in. Well, this episode, just suddenly it's over. Yes, it's still it's a long episode like the rest. Well, I don't know, maybe give or take a few minutes. I didn't track it exactly, but it's just nonstop action and intrigue, and they're dealing with their situation. It's another, like a follow-up of sort of like the Isaac episode, with everybody not trusting him and all that as a result of the Kalon War. But it's still, they're dealing with this new alliance they've managed to form with the Krill, and you're showing signs in the earlier in like the second episode where it's still a difficult relationship, and so now they get to this episode where they're gonna seal the deal, sign a treaty, and formalize it and everything. But this causes problems back home in Krill, because you've been guiding the whole people of the Krill to be against the Union and whatnot. And now all of a sudden you're going to change it, and of course the faction that's against this believes they can handle the Kalons on their own. And I think that's already been demonstrated. They're probably wrong about that, but that's what they think. And lo and behold, who is the leader? Well, it's Ed's old girlfriend. So it's another, they're following up on what's been established in several ways with the previous seasons and whatnot. And still, it's episodic in its nature and what they have to deal with in that, but it is the ongoing threads and narratives they've established. But they've been doing it all the way through this season. And so she's leading an opposition force and challenging the chancellor for the top job in an election, and well, she wins. Now, of course, taking the opportunity of this is very much in keeping with Star Trek, and where it's commentary on elements of culture and politics and society that we live in today. And so there's some things about, well, you can't really trust what you're seeing. You can't trust, and both sides are doing it, and all this sort of stuff is in play there. And for a while there, I thought they might reveal that this was some plot, and maybe they still will in a later episode, because this is all to the advantage of the Kalons. So it might be that they had some agent in there manipulating things for this to fall apart. And boy, does it. So the Orville leads a delegation of the Union president and what have you to go formalize this deal, but the election goes south and the chancellor loses, and Talea becomes the new one, and she orders them all executed, but turns out she wants to give Ed a chance to escape, because he did the same for her, and of course she won't admit it, but she still has feelings for Ed. And I gotta say, it shows up more when she confronts Kelly, who's in command of the Orville while Ed's captured and all that. And you with the meow meow going on there, yeah. But I gotta say, Adrian Palicki's performance here as Kelly is really good, and I think Rebecca Romaine could do that if allowed with number one. Everything Kelly Grayson's doing is what number one should be. On that other show. That's just another talent wasted and missed opportunity. But here we've got an excellent performance of Kelly taking command and all of that. So it's all very good, and it's furthering also the story between the two of Ed and Kelly. And oh boy, I hope they get back together. So the big reveal, what is it? Oh, Talea has a secret. She had a love child with Ed, so we have that. and the child's kept in secret because here she is leading this isolationist, xenophobic movement, and yet she has a hybrid child that's half human. So they're seeing this as a possibility to knock her down in the hopes that the other side can retake power and the treaty's back on for the sake of the war with the Kalons. But, of course, there's the difficulties of now Ed's met his daughter, and he's immediately taken with this, and he's having feelings and wanting to protect the child and everything. So then suddenly it becomes into a debate about abortion. So Ed says, if you didn't care about this child, why did you have her? Well, it appears that the Krill Society is extremely pro-life. So they show a scene where they punish a couple who did abort their child. And I was like, oh, they're going to get executed? What are they going to do? And they said, no, we take DNA samples from them and we artificially create a version of their child. And they're confronted by the child who says, I wish he hadn't killed me. And so it's like, oh my God, do you want to live in a world like this? All right. So when talking about the preachiness of woke shows and stuff like that, they don't think it through. They just state it, and that's it. This is actually an interesting interplay here of the back and forth and how difficult it is for Mercer's position to just say she's completely wrong in what she's doing. He wants the treaty for the sake of the war. He's trying to say, look, we're all going to lose if you don't do it. And that's a sound position, and the war itself had already proven this. But he doesn't understand the entirety of the Krill culture and whatnot, and there might be some legitimate reasons as to why. They touch on it with the manipulations of the election and stuff like that as they were observing that. But but also there's other elements there that maybe the chancellor that she unseated was not much better, and so that was, you can understand the grievances and whatnot. So here, Ed is chastising her for hiding the daughter, and treating her like she means nothing to her and all this type of stuff. And then the roles reverse when she's talking about, you would have had me just kill the child, and you're going to sit here and try to defend its life and everything. So that's actually an interesting argument between the two. Granted, it's the villain, of the story here giving the pro-life message in this version of it. I mean, it's Seth MacFarlane after all. But it's about as close as you're going to get to how Star Trek used to handle things like this, where it did leave it open. Most famously was the Vietnam episode they did, where the argument is literally had between Kirk and McCoy, and Kirk says, well, what am I supposed to do? And McCoy doesn't have the answer. So that's the thing. Even though the points made were sound, that's how they dealt with it. Today, it's all just it's not well written, first and foremost, and it's all very preachy, and it makes broad-based assumptions and all this sort of thing. So that's how it's played out here in this one, and that's how they demonstrate that. But it's an odd thing where Ed's in this position where he's defending the life of the child, but at the same time arguing she might have been better off dead. That's a hard one to swallow, really. And of course, now he loves the girl. He wants, if he could have taken her with him, he would have. So that's the rest of it is great action, a lot of great scenery. I have to assume that Orville doesn't have the kind of budget that Star Wars shows have, but after just sitting through Kenobi, which made so many mistakes just in the aesthetics of it and presentation, forget about the story and plot for now, but some episodes did better, and the final one was probably, as far as it goes, was the best one that they did. But it just looks so cheap and tacky, and I don't know what it is. I'm guessing that for the primary crew working on that show didn't know how to fully utilize the new technology and whatnot. I don't know. It looked bad. Here, it's damn near spotless. It's they go to the Krill City. It looks like a combination of Coruscant and Blade Runner and all. It just looks fantastic, and it looks like it's huge. Like this really is a city, and and it's really probably a handful of extras in there. But they knew how to shoot it. That's what's important. You got to know how to use your set and stuff as framing devices to give that illusion, that it's this bustling city. And then there's like the political speeches and whatnot, and they've got the crowd of Krill, and it look, of course, it's a lot of CGI, of course, but nevertheless, the manner in which it's shot, it works, and it looks really good. Then they have a massive battle in space with the ships and everything, and that's Star Wars level looking stuff that they pull off, and it's great. It's a strange time to live in where a small show like this can put something like Star Wars to shame. Strange New Worlds also does a better job with their special effects as opposed to shows like Boba Fett and Kenobi, but it doesn't matter because the stories and writing and plotting is terrible. Whereas Orville just keeps knocking it out of the park. I've noticed some stumbles here and there, but they're minor. They don't really, it doesn't, half the time it's not worth mentioning. Mercer, of course, they have a daring escape. They pull it off. They manage to get out, and they're back to some standoff stalemate with the Krill now, after all of this. But it's just like, the Kaylon, my guess is the Kaylon had some involvement. They can probably come back and say they did. Either way, there would have to be some confrontation there, and to prove the folly of what Talia and her group are thinking here, because ultimately they would have put themselves in a two-front war, But then again, so the Union would be stuck in one as well. It's stupid, But that's how that works, I guess. So that's what she's decided. She's not thinking clearly. She's conflicted about her feelings for Mercer. That's not, falling in love was never part of the plan. And she's trying to overcompensate for her seeming betrayal of her people that she feels and her culture and all that. When all she did was fall in love, and they produced a child, and it's actually a symbol of something that could be greater between the two. But what are you gonna do? So, excellent show. It's moments of sadness and all that, and the humor was really back as well. There's a little bit more funny stuff just within the personalities and keeping and everything. They're all having a break in the simulator room, and then Isaac comes and lands the punchline. It's all pretty good. Hopefully soon we can get an episode centered around Bortus, who's probably one of my favorite characters in the show, and stuff like that. But yeah, I think this was the best one of the batch. Just really exciting and stuff, and really lifts up where the show is, and opens up all kinds of opportunities, which I hope they have the time to follow through on for the Orville.